This is the Korean peninsula. In the north is North Korea, a Stalinist communist dictatorship with a population of 26 million people. In the south is South Korea, a late-stage capitalist cyberpunk dystopia with a population of 51 million people. 50 years from today, if birth rates remain the same across the two countries, 1.8 per woman in the north and 0.72 per woman in the south, North Korea will have a population of approximately 20 million people, while South Korea will be left with a population of about 7 million, a decline of almost 90%. To put this in perspective, 50 years from today, all things being equal, North Korea's communist hell will still be standing, while South Korea's capitalist feudalism will be on its final stage towards extinction. How did South Korea end up a society where people don't think it's worth bringing a child into anymore? How did this happen?
South Korea does not rebalance its rural-urban divide.
So if this kind of low fertility rate and extended life expectancy continues, South Korean economy and society disappears in the next 100 years.
His name was Kim Jong-hyun. He was 25 years old. Kim was a facility engineer in the LCD department at Samsung Electronics, one of the most powerful corporations on the planet, headquartered in a country that built its entire national identity around companies just like it. His shift began at 8 in the morning. It ended around 10:30 at night, 6 days a week. He had told his parents about the environment, the relentless pressure, the abusive senior supervisors, the feeling of being crushed inside a machine that had no interest in him as a human being. On January 11, 2011, Kim went to work feeling weak and exhausted. Somewhere in the course of that day, something broke. He walked to his dormitory room on the Samsung campus, climbed to the window on the 13th floor, and jumped to his death. 10 days later, a 25-year-old female colleague at the same facility took her own life. Two young people, 10 days apart, the same company, the same story. But here's the most disturbing part. Nobody was surprised, because in South Korea, this happens all the time. Over the past 5 years, more than 4,000 South Korean workers have died from overwork, a phenomenon the country has a name for, gwarosa, death by overwork. Not metaphorical, literal. And tethered to that number is another one, even harder to sit with. In 2024 alone, approximately 14,000 South Koreans took their own lives, the highest among developed countries. And among South Koreans between the ages of 29 and 40, people in the prime of their lives, people who should have everything ahead of them, suicide is the single leading cause of death. Not cancer, not car accidents, suicide. Why? The research points to one overwhelming force: social pressure. The unbearable, suffocating weight of a society that has been structurally designed to demand the impossible from ordinary people. South Korea is a society that has been engineered, not evolved, engineered, to produce a specific kind of human being. One who overworks, overperforms, overdelivers, oversatisfies, and never stops competing. A society where being average is not just discouraged. It is a mark of failure. A social death sentence. From birth, South Koreans enter a simulation of permanent competition, a race with no finish line against neighbors they are taught to envy, toward a standard of success that is always just out of reach. The education system, the hiring culture, the housing market, the marriage market, all of it designed around one core idea. You are only as valuable as your output. But this did not happen by accident. This ecosystem, this culture of hyper-competition and self-erasure, was not something South Korean society organically arrived at. It was metastasized by design. It is a system working exactly as intended, designed by a small handful of capitalist oligarchs, the Chaebol dynasties, the industrial conglomerates, who needed an endless, compliant, expendable army of workers to fuel their empires and multiply their wealth. And it worked spectacularly for them. The South Korean economy is one of the most exceptional stories of economic success in modern history, driven mostly by exports. After the Korean War, the vast majority of the country was in ruins and many of the citizens in abject poverty. Then came the military takeover of the country by President Park Chung-hee. When President Park came to power, there were many small family-owned businesses which existed during the Japanese occupation and through the previous government. He initially started dismantling these business groups in the name of fighting institutional corruption, but soon realized that to grow the South Korean economy, he needs their wealth of experience and their financial resources. Then came the compromise. The new government pardoned many of them in exchange that they will help grow the manufacturing sectors of the country. President Park brought in foreign capital and gave it to this small group of industrialists at almost zero interest rates with additional subsidies and government grants. The system miraculously worked. From 1961, when Park came to power, to 1995, the economy grew astronomically from a mere $3 billion in GDP to about $600 billion. It was a miracle in the Han River. But this great economic growth didn't come without its cost. Few men now controls the entire destiny of a country. For example, Samsung alone constitutes 20% of the South Korea's economy. A staggering amount if you consider that Walmart, the largest company in the world by revenue, contributes just 2% of the US economy. With this concentrated wealth in the hands of very few comes with concentrated power. Chaebols over the years have gained enormous influence over the politicians and government officials, influencing policy decisions and regulations that suits their demands. It is within this economic framework that one of the most draconian education and work environment was developed. A country where almost everyone is going to school hoping to end up working in any of these chaebols, with Samsung being the top candidate. To put this in perspective, in an average year, as many as 500,000 graduating students apply to work in any of these chaebols. That is roughly 73% of the yearly graduates. It's a system where the destiny of your child and unborn children is already tied to the destiny of a few scrupulous and corrupt companies. It's a vicious loop that most South Koreans have come to accept as the norm and can't escape from. To fully grasp the extent to which the chaebols have privatized the South Korean society, we need to examine some interesting case studies out of many over the past few decades. A president who committed suicide, 3 former presidents jailed. All of these cases as a result of chaebols corrupting the system. Start in 1995. Prosecutors discovered that South Korea's outgoing president, Roh Tae-woo, had built a secret slush fund of roughly $650 million during his time in office. Cash extracted from the country's biggest conglomerates in exchange for contracts, licenses, and political protection. The investigation doesn't stop with him. It pulls in his predecessor, Chun Do-hwan, revealing an even larger fund, reportedly close to double what Roh had collected. Nearly every major chaebol had paid into one or both funds: Samsung, Hyundai, Daewoo, LG, SK. Both former presidents were convicted in 1996. Chun was sentenced to death, later commuted to life in prison. Roh Tae-woo got 22.5 years. Both men were pardoned within about 2 years by the very next administration in the name of national reconciliation. 2 presidents convicted, a dozen or more conglomerate chairmen implicated, and the corporate side of the ledger walked away almost entirely unscathed. That imbalance, established in the very first major chaebol political scandal of Korea's democratic era, becomes the template for everything that follows. Fast forward to 2007. Samsung's own former chief legal counsel, a lawyer named Kim Yong-chul, does something almost unheard of in Korean corporate culture. He goes public. He holds a press conference and alleges that Samsung has maintained a slush fund of roughly $200 million for years, used specifically to bribe prosecutors, judges, and government officials to keep investigations away from the company and its chairman. The fallout forces a special prosecutor investigation into Samsung Group chairman Lee Kun-hee, at the time, the richest man in Korea. In 2008, Lee is indicted and convicted of tax evasion tied to the hidden funds. He's sentenced to 3 years in prison. The sentence is suspended the same day it's handed down. Lee never spends a single night in custody. The following year, the sitting president grants him a full pardon, the stated justification being that Korea needed him healthy and unencumbered to help lobby for the 2018 Winter Olympics, which Korea was bidding to host.
Well, our movers and shakers this morning. First up, former Samsung Group chairman Lee Kun-hee. He's skating from a tax evasion conviction to a shot at the Olympics. The billionaire was granted a pardon to help lead South Korea's efforts to land the 2018 Winter Olympics. pardons are nothing new for Lee. He was also pardoned back in the 1990s after being convicted of bribing two former presidents.
Almost the exact same year, nearly the exact same story plays out at Hyundai. Chairman Chung Mong-koo is convicted of embezzling more than $100 million from Hyundai Motor Group to build his own slush fund. Money used, prosecutors said, to bribe banking and government officials. A judge sentences him to 3 years. Then, in the same ruling, suspends it, telling the packed courtroom on the record that Chung was too important to South Korea's economy to actually go to prison. Chung receives a full presidential pardon less than a year later. He remains chairman. Today, his family's net worth is estimated in the billions, and Hyundai Motor Group has only grown in size and global reach since. Samsung and Hyundai, Korea's two largest conglomerates, both ran illegal slush funds to bribe officials. Both chairmen were convicted. Neither served a day. Both were pardoned within about 12 months, using almost the identical national interest justification. Roh Moo-hyun became president in 2003, explicitly campaigning against exactly this dynamic, the cozy, untouchable relationship between big business and the state. Ironically, the Samsung and Hyundai slush fund scandals both broke and were prosecuted during his presidency. He was, by most accounts, the president under whose watch these cases were actually pursued. But less than a year after he left office, prosecutors opened an investigation into Roh himself, alleging that Park Yeon-cha, chairman of shoe manufacturer Taekwang Industries, had funneled roughly $6 million to Roh's family in exchange for political favors during his term. For weeks, Korean media ran near-daily leaks from the investigation. On May 23, 2009, before the case ever reached trial, Roh Moo-hyun took his own life. Fast forward again to 2016. President Park Geun-hye's closest confidant, a woman named Choi Soon-sil with no official government role, is found to have pressured the country's biggest chaebols, Samsung chief among them, into donating more than $60 million to foundations Choi personally controlled. In exchange, prosecutors allege Samsung's de facto leader, Jae Lee, son of the very same Lee Kun-hee pardoned less than a decade earlier, received government help securing a merger between two Samsung affiliates that was critical to cementing his control over the entire conglomerate ahead of his father's death. The scandal ends Park's presidency. She's impeached in December 2016, removed from office in March 2017, and eventually sentenced to 25 years for corruption and abuse of power. Choi Soon-sil receives 20 years. Jae Lee is convicted of bribery and embezzlement. He's sentenced to 30 months in prison. He's released within a year on appeal, with the same rationale offered for his father a decade before, that his leadership was too important to Samsung, and by extension Korea, to keep him locked up. Look at the shape of it. 1996, two presidents convicted, chaebol executives barely touched. 2008, Samsung's chairman pardoned. 2008, Hyundai's chairman pardoned. 2009, the one president who tried to break the cycle is dead before he ever reaches a courtroom. 2017, a president impeached and a Samsung heir out on appeal within a year. The exact same company, the exact same family, the exact same pattern, 2 generations later. That's not 4 unrelated scandals. That's one mechanism tested and confirmed 4 times across 2 decades. The state can jail its presidents, but not the families who actually run the economy.
A woman named Heather Cho, Korean Air's vice president for cabin service, and wait for it, daughter of the airline's chairman, Ms. Cho forced the plane to return to the gate where she had the head of the cabin crew kicked off. She was served macadamia nuts in a bag instead of on a plate. And after the story sparked outrage throughout South Korea and much of the world, she resigned some of her duties, though she's apparently keeping her title at Korean Air.
South Korea is a classical example of what happens when very few individuals ends up with so much power and control over the economy. It breeds unprecedented power in the hands of few, and to some extent creates a capitalist oligarchy that might never be broken or destroyed. The effects of this concentrated power in the hands of the few can be seen in all over South Korea, a society where economic and political power are in the hands of a few creates an environment where opportunities are limited and privatized. And a society where opportunities are privatized forces people to compete fiercely for limited spot on the pie, and the few who made it into the pie will have to equally compete and overwork themselves to remain relevant or be thrown overboard.
A 48-year-old father of two named Im Gwam-soo suffered a massive brain hemorrhage and fell into a coma.
세상에 주 90시간을 일했다고 합니다. 이게 말이나 됩니까?
다른 기업과 다르게 삼성이 좀 다르다라고 할 수 있는 건 되게 국가 경제에서 차지하는 바, 기여하는 바가 매우 큰데
휴대폰 사업, 반도체 사업이 커지면서 97년 외환위기 이후에는 삼성이 거의 독주를 하는 그런 구조로 지금 가고 있습니다.
엄청난 자본을 갖고 있잖아요. 이 자본을 가지고 정치적으로나 사회적으로 또는 이제 그 언론에 대해서 미치는 영향력이 엄청나다고 볼 수 있죠.
사회적, 정치적 의사결정이 자신들에게 유리하게 만드는 그런 역할을 한다.
그동안 관대했다라고 봐야죠. 재벌에 대해서 우리 국가나 사법부가 관대했었고 특히 삼성에 대해서는 더 관대했던 것이 아니냐.
즉 경제 권력이 된다. 민주적인 통제에서 벗어난 경제 권력에 대해서 국가 의사결정에 심대한 왜곡을 가져오는 그런 문제가 있겠습니다.